Starbucks is Moldy Ice, an employee of the month, and higher education today on Good Work.
Hello, workers of the world, and welcome to Good Work, a roundtable discussion show about the world of working. Working is a major part of our lives, so we should talk about it. I'm James Mastriani.
I'm Matt Newell.
And I'm Jake Lloyd Bacon, and we are comedians, writers, performers, and firemen, and not serious, so take anything we say with a grain of salt.
We're fired men. We've all been fired.
It's true.
It's very, very, very true. I was going to ask you guys, James, I know we all know where Matt stands, but James, have you jumped ship to any other social medias?
Not really. I've actually, I think, probably been more on Twitter recently because I'm just loving.
Fascinated.
We're currently in a Twitter era that's pretty hilarious and exciting. And then once it's all going, I'll probably just do Instagram and lurk on TikTok or Reddit or whatever.
I downloaded Hive, which is like the closest Twitter lookalike. And it sort of had like a moment where everybody was like, hey, this thing is really good. Everybody go to it. And it's like the whole thing is run by just like two people. And so it's like, oh, we're not going to be able to handle this. So I don't know how long that's going to be able to scale. But
do you guys, is Discord considered social media?
I think so. I like to think so. Yeah, I like to think that.
And also is Twitch?
Sure. I think Twitch is considered social media.
But you kind of just watch people play video games on that.
Yeah,
right?
But
that's what it is for.
But you do communicate back. It is two ways. I think anything that's two ways, I would consider social media. I don't know. Maybe not.
Okay.
Anyways.
Good definition.
But then the texting isn't social media.
Yeah, I don't. All right, I clearly.
What is it like?
What is
I'm genuinely
media?
not sure.
I think I know.
Hey, Jake.
I think anything in which you communicate digitally. I'm going to go ahead and broad
to a large amount of people. Though.
Yes.
That other people can see. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
They could see it without having to also interact.
Yeah, I think that might be a better, less broad.
So then YouTube is social media.
Totally. Yeah.
Totally.
Twitch
that's true.
Not wildly different than YouTube, but
I'm on YouTube.
Oh, good job, Matt.
Yeah, it's funny to say you have YouTube.
I went back and forth because, like I said a couple weeks ago, Matt, I had jumped to your side where I was just like, screw it, Twitter, let it all die, I don't care. And now I've gone back where I'm like, yeah, but but I met my fiance on Twitter, and there's a lot of nice people and a lot of good things that happen on Twitter, and now I'm still just like, what do I do with social media? See, Matt, you have an enriching life. You have friends and family who it seems like you do things with socially. You have a lovely wife. You have a good community of adopted family. I am alone in this basement, me and my fiance captive. And I need.
Are you still in the Chief's basement?
I need.
Me and James escaped.
Yeah, we did.
Social media. Anyways.
What?
So find me on Hive, you guys, at Jake Lloyd Bacon on Hive.
If you were listening today hoping to get a definition for social media, then you tuned in to the right podcast, my friends.
Do we have any news to chat about?
We sure do. We sure do have some news. I've got something here that I'd like to start off.
Well, we're fucking professionals, aren't we?
Yeah.
It's just so funny. We always forget what we're doing. Leave all this in, Jake. Don't take this out.
I have not.
Me too. I'm like,
I have not left a marker.
Oh, great.
Leave it all in. So these two stories to me are kind of interestingly. Maybe they're connected in a way. Because they're, you'll see. So Fortune.com had an article that came out recently. And the headline is, "The world's baby shortfall is so bad that the labor shortage will last for years. major employment firms predict.
What?
So basically, if you're not aware,
I'm already irritated. I'm already upset.
I know.
By this headline. It's by the bullshit way the headline's worded.
Yeah, for sure. Also, like, this is actually, if you are a worker and listening to this, if you're a member of the employee class, this is actually a good thing, and I'll explain why in a second. But just to catch you up, if you're not familiar, so basically, this version of late stage capitalism the whole world is kind of experiencing has left people without the material needs to have children. So many people just don't have the money to have, to be able to afford to have children. It's expensive to have children, especially in America. We don't provide a lot of things to parents. And
also, what if you have a scary one? That's my biggest fear.
Yeah, a haunted
child.
Like
the good son, or like a little psychopath. What do you do with it?
Totally.
Are you allowed to just... If it is like a demon child, can you kill it with a ceremonial dagger? Is that legal?
Certain states, it's states' rights.
Certain states' rights.
This is why voting is important, guys. And so because of this, these firms, these companies are all terrified because, these companies, they look decades in advance. Like they all... their whole thing is figuring out how to be a sustainable, entity or enterprise for a long time. And so they know that this is going to be a massive issue for them in just 10 years, right?
Right.
And one, it's hilarious because, them keeping and stealing so much profit has led to, and neoliberalism has led to this situation where we can't even afford to have kids. So they've kind of fucked themselves over.
Right.
And now looking forward, this means that within a few years, labor could have an advantage in, negotiating what it is that we want, because there's going to be less of us and they will have to kind of kowtow to what our needs are. This has happened before, and this is a good thing.
And that's kind of that's why the phrase labor shortage really irritates me.
100%.
Because it's not, there's not a labor shortage. We talked last week, Amazon's going to be laying off thousands of people. Like, 100%. Trust me, there's plenty of people available to work. The problem is a good job shortage. There's good work shortage. And that's the issue.
And pretty soon they'll be coming to us and they'll be begging for our sperm and our eggs. And we'll have them in jars, and they'll like, you want them? Then let's go to the negotiating table, okay?
Let's go to the negotiation table. I know the future's probably going to be some tech company is going to like use DNA to create like cheap labor human beings that have like weird.
I think this is like a Philip K. Dick novel. I think this already exists.
Yeah. And so my
probably
other story,
not a novel, probably a short story.
You're right. Yeah.
The other story that I have here, which I think is kind of interesting, and it's actually something we talked about the other month, which is this is a Slate.com article. Child labor has made a comeback in America.
They said it couldn't be done.
Yeah,
it's back, baby.
We're number one.
Yep.
We're number one.
We're only one. We're only one.
So they found that a bunch of children as young as 12 years old were working overnight shifts cleaning dangerous, sharp equipment in meatpacking plants. I'm sorry. Like, it makes me laugh because, and we've talked about this before, like, it's truly fucking evil. It's cartoonishly evil. And so there's been a bunch of investigations.
You never hear about them working in pillow or like less dangerous factories. It's always like
right.
The sharp. They have to clean our. This is called our sharp object machine,
right?
Yeah.
Or whatever. It's like, what do we use this for? Oh, it's just very dangerous.
And to make so the company that got caught having all of these children, it's a private equity firm. Currently, Blackstone is what owns it, but it's called Packers Sanitation. It is considered the 14th most dangerous company to work for in America in terms of the severe injury reports that happen every single year. According to the U.S. Occupational Safety and Health Administration, since 2018, there have been 4 amputations, 3 fatalities, including a decapitation on the workplace.
Of children?
No, this is just workers in general.
Still, yeah.
And they have a 10 dismemberments per 10,000 worker rate, which is 5 times higher than any other. Yeah, it's crazy.
There's even a rate for that, and then they even have to keep track of that.
Yeah, it's like all OSHA.
Also, decapitation does that you think that counts as amputation and?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it is because it's like a head amputation.
Yeah. That is insane that they haven't. Oh,
yeah.
And then so now they're getting. What is the age of these workers?
Well, so they're as young as 12. There's one.
Oh my God.
There's one they found that this kid was falling asleep and missing class all the time because he was and had chemical burns all over his skin because he was working the night shift at this cleaning meat cutting equipment. And he's in like 7th grade. He's in middle. He goes to Walnut Middle School. It's really fucking crazy. And the reason why they're kind of connected to me is like I think because labor is kind of taking a little bit of an advantage, for the first time in probably 30 years. Labor actually has a little bit of an advantage right now.
Yeah, we have a little bit of pull as laborers.
Yep. Exactly. And it makes me wonder, like, are all of these companies just kind of like flailing, looking for anybody to exploit for, money, for profit and shit because of it?
I also wonder, because we say that like, oh yeah, like labor is having a moment, like we have a little bit of pull. But we're not talking about like with Amazon and Apple because we're, nothing is changing there. So it's a very distinctive category of companies and categories of employers who I feel like is going to actually feel the effects of this and actually be held accountable. And the reality is like, if we could just expand that to the people above them, everybody below wouldn't have such a hard time,
Totally.
Like it's very much, I feel like the upper middle class capitalists and small businesses are going to be the ones doing the negotiating and making the good faith agreements and doing all that stuff. And, the Amazons are still going to be like, hey, don't look at the 12-year-olds. No, don't look behind that door,
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that, no, that was Hyundai that had those kids working there, right?
A couple months ago we talked about that.
Yeah, that's right. In Alabama. Yeah.
I
mean, it does seem, we said,
are you out of your mind?
Like we said it last week about like the losses in Qatar. It's like you assume like, well, that can't happen anymore.
Yeah.
Like we can't. It's not. That's like old stuff that happened years and years and years ago. That was like, when our great grandparents were little kids.
Yeah,
but
and it's funny too because it's never like with Hyundai or this other company, like they're never giving children like jobs that are not safe. It's not like, oh, we have a 12-year-old who is the head of sales at Hyundai. It's always we need children to clean sharp things.
Yeah, I know. Like, to get their little hands in there. They'll grow back. They're not. Those aren't their adult hands yet. They'll be fine.
I just want to say,
also
Matt,
meanwhile, we got. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Mine's not important. I was making a dumb joke and the moment passed, so continue.
Oh, I'm gonna make a dumb joke too. So watch this. Meanwhile, we got TV shows where high school kids are played by 20-year-olds. That's where the kids should be working.
Seriously.
Right. Yeah, totally.
Right?
Totally.
It doesn't make any damn sense. Get
doesn't.
the 20-year-olds in the meat machine.
Yeah.
Or whatever that thing's called. And then get the kids.
The spiky sharp O-matic.
The spiky sharp O-matic.
2000.
Now, Jake, you do your joke.
I was just going to say
This is how they work.
I was just going to say that you and I both allowed James to get away with that pronunciation of Hyundai when he started that sentence. And I don't know that we should allow that to go unnoticed.
Hyundai. Hyundai, my prince will come. That's how you remember that. Okay, I got a little bit of something here. Guess what? I got news about.
I'm going to take a broad strokes guess. Coffee bean and tea leaf.
Oh, so close, but so much more bitter and burnt tasting. It's Starbucks.
Here we go. It's the Bucks, baby.
Bucks news. We're gonna keep doing news till they go away. Memphis, Tennessee. Starbucks employees strike due to mold. A dispute that was brewing between some Memphis Starbucks workers and management led to a strike on Sunday. The workers at the Starbucks on Poplar near Prescott say they found mold in the ice machine and say their management refused to professionally fix the problem. If I was a customer, I would be upset.
Yeah,
they tell us that
gross.
this isn't the first time workers have engaged in a quote-unquote David versus Goliath type battle with the national coffee chain. At the Starbucks on Poplar near Prescott, about a dozen Memphis Starbucks workers take to the streets chanting and holding signs that read, "Got mold? We do." That's
lovely.
That's good.
Lovely.
That's good. I think that's gonna get like that's getting the customers like they're giving you shitty stuff,
Right.
You know, they're giving you
It's so
moldy
gross.
coffee.
Got
It's
mold. It's
disgusting.
it's catchy. It's good. It's a callback to a great ad campaign that we all remember and love. I think that's going to take off. That's going to take off on Hive.
Where's
the new
the
social
mold?
media? Hive.com.
All right. What is this for? What this is for is mostly the accountability of us having issues with our management. They're insisting that we keep serving moldy ice to our customers. There's been a lot of black mold in our ice machine because of the poor insulation from Starbucks. They insist on serving it, and we refuse, says Beto Sanchez, a striking Starbucks employee. And I don't think they mean striking looking.
No. Yes, very striking employee.
It's very
they have.
striking.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah. So that's crazy. They're poisoning people.
It's fucking insane. And also, this is shit like this. I want to mention every time you speak to like some fucking boomer or somebody who's just like, oh, you go to the store, you go to the fast food restaurant, and the people are always crappy to you. They don't want to work. Or they probably do gross stuff to the food. They probably do this stuff. It's like, no, generally people don't want to poison people.
Yeah.
Like generally the workforce doesn't want to, it's the company that's fucking evil. And it's the company who's poisoning you, not the fucking 18-year-old kid, behind the counter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fucking insane to me. I
so
hope
crazy.
that this has got, like, I don't know.
Oh, they got pictures here in this article. This is from the local Tennessee
Right.
newspaper, WREG. Yeah, they got, it's gross, dude. There's pictures
in
of
the ice machine, too, which means, like, it's anytime you get a cold beverage, it's coming from that machine.
Yeah.
Like, so it's not even like, well, only if you order the nutmeg thing. Like, there's a mold in the nutmeg container. Don't order the nutmeg.
You've never worked at a coffee shop, Jake, have
Never.
you?
I've never.
There's no nutmeg thing.
I have never. Is there no nutmeg container?
The nutmeg comes out of a hose.
Oh, it's a nutmeg hose.
Yeah, that's a little thing.
I have a gross misunderstanding of what nutmeg is.
Yeah. Here, WREG reached out to Starbucks for a comment, but so far we haven't heard back, says WREG.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
That's
Yeah,
fucking
it was
insane.
Starbucks news. It's disgusting.
How
How about some good news?
Sure, we love it.
You want some good news? You want an employee of the month?
Yeah.
I think you mean a.
Employee of the month. That's exactly what I mean, Jake. This comes out of Yahoo News. Didn't know they were still doing stuff, did ya? Employees save life of man having a heart attack at South Charlotte restaurant. This is out of my home state of North Carolina. A man returned to a restaurant in South Charlotte's Waverly Shopping Center to reunite with and thank the employees who saved his life after he suffered a heart attack earlier this month.
Oh shit!
On November 1st, Robert Adams, a regular at Carolina Ale House, my sister used to work at one of those, went into cardiac arrest. Justin Jones, an employee at the restaurant, jumped in along with 2 other employees. Jones had former CPR training and spoke with the 911 operator while coaching the employees in CPR. This is what Jones said. I'm going to do a North Carolina accent now.
Okay.
I don't know what happened or what kicked in, but it was like, you got to help, Jones said. The simple knowledge, like CPR, checking the pulse, looking for vital signs. Yeah, he just jumped right in action. I try not to blubber all over him. I'm so grateful. I don't know what to say. Like, that's what heroes look like, said Leonisa Adams, who was the wife of the man that Jones saved.
Well done, sir. Well done.
Yeah.
And what did he do at the restaurant? Did it say whose job?
He was it doesn't say what he did there. It just says he worked at the restaurant. So I don't know if he was. I'm trying to add some perspective. If it was like the chef.
Yeah, or I was also just trying to add some perspective that, like, even if he's the bus boy, it doesn't matter what role. Like, hey, learn CPR. Have some basic understanding of emergency scenarios, and good on him to both be the guy calling and the one telling everybody, like, real take charge fucking attitude. That motherfucker deserves a raise.
Yeah, he says Jones was quick to react and perform CPR, even though he hasn't taken a course in 15 years. Wow. But he said it came right back to him. He goes, I know I'm not a doctor or anything like a paramedic, but I know the small things.
Love it. I love
it. I hope he got tipped 20%.
Oh, yeah, but not including, you got to take tax out of it. So it's like, really 18%. Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, great job.
You are
Mr.
our
Jones.
employee of the month. Justin Jones.
Well, before we go to the break, hey, every week we tout the fact that we've got a voice mailbox. You can call us here at Good Work Pod at 929-256-5151. 929-256-5151. People are shy. They don't really like calling and talking, except, of course, for one man who's called us a few times and has called us once again. I speak,
you
of course.
You put man in quotes.
Of course. The identity is well hidden. Of course, I speak of the Mass Llama, who left us this voicemail.
Hello, Good Work Pod. This is Mask Llama of the Legendary Fighting Federation, and I am calling to share what I find to be a fun story. Hope y'all do as well. And it is a bit of a parable on knowing your workers' rights. My friend works at a company, won't say which one because I want him to keep working there, but a decent one, big size, got different branches, different offices spread throughout the United States, and this particular branch is having a morale crisis. And so the manager decides to get together, and he comes out, he's got his HR person next to him, and they're like, all right, we want to talk about why morale is so low. And one brave worker steps up and goes, well, part of it is pay. I've worked for you for 5 years, and I know that the person that you just hired, I am training, is making more than me. And the manager immediately goes, oh, it is against the policy for employees to discuss their wages. Now here's the important part. When the worker goes, that's illegal. That is not a policy that can be allowed. And the manager goes, what? Turns to the HR person, who immediately starts Googling on her phone. There is I think it's probably a pretty comfortable pause, as she just starts scrolling and looking. It finally turns back to the manager and goes, he's right. You can't have that as a policy. And so, yeah, there you go. There's rights, because apparently your HR rep might not. Anyway, have a good day, Good Work Pod. I'll keep on listening. Enjoying it. Y'all are doing great.
The Mass Llama, calling with a really fantastic story. Did you guys get all that?
Yeah. I was it was breaking up a little bit.
Yes.
But
so the short of it is a friend of his who works for a nationwide company, to be unnamed because he doesn't want to. I mean, I like that the guy who calls up with an alias as Masked Llama, uses an alias, is still worried about like the third degrees of research that will be done to figure out who this person is.
And I do want to say, I think I'm just, maybe you guys both realize this. Obviously, I think Jake did, but it's a wrestling pseudonym, right? It's like a wrestling reference.
Yes.
Okay, that's his wrestling.
We did
character.
have this conversation before that it's like a luchador. He's like the luchador.
Oh, that's right.
mask.
We did.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
But so anyways, so a friend of his is working at a place. They're having a morale problem, so they call a big meeting. The boss goes like, "Hey, what the hell is the problem?" And this person speaks up and says, "It's pay. The guy that I'm hiring, or the new hire, I know for a fact is getting paid more than I am, and I've been here 5 years." And the boss goes, "Well, you can't talk about that. That's illegal." And the HR person gets called out, Googles, because they don't know the own law, and immediately goes like, "Oh, wait, no, that's not a policy. We can't have that policy."
That's I love that. First of all, I mean, anyone could do anything if you have Google. Like I could be any position in the world. I think as long as I got my phone with me and my internet, I can figure something out. Watch a YouTube video real quick and
right, yeah, seriously,
that's so funny. She's like they had to Google that. Yeah, I feel like that's a pretty
fantastic. Yeah. And it's also common. We've talked about this about how wage transparency is one of the best tools for the labor movement.
Yeah.
Great for everybody. Yeah.
Yes.
Except for the.
Yeah. Everybody you should start a job by walking through the office that you're newly employed at and introducing yourself and telling everybody how much you're getting paid. And they should be like, "Oh, really? I've been here for this long. This is how much I get paid." And everybody should know because it will force accountability from upper management.
They should count out your paycheck in front of it. They should all gather around.
Right. Yeah.
Like, James, come here. 1, 2, 3. And they give you $1 at a time.
I love that. Well,
what do you think he works? Well, I was just trying to guess.
You want to guess?
Take a guess. We have no information. We
don't have any information. All we know is that it's a national change. They have many different offices and locations. I'm going to say foods. I'm going to say food service. I'm going to say maybe it's a Starbucks. I mean, we talk about them all the time.
All right.
Yeah.
Starbucks, it's everywhere.
I'm going to say it's a Best Buy.
Best Buy. Could be good, but I don't. Yeah. I feel like anybody who's working at Best Buy, there's no morale problem because their expectations are so low anyway. Your bar is real low if you're working at a Best Buy.
Yeah.
Not even going to go to a Target. Get that red shirt. Come on now.
I'm going to say it's a social media company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we may never know.
Googled that? What if it's Google?
It's Google.
It's Google.
How did Google?
Well, thanks so much for the story, and it is a very good lesson in knowing.
Thanks, Masked Llama. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
everyone should know that. That's
especially the fact
it can't
that
be a policy,
and that the HR rep themselves had no idea and just was like, "Well, this is that a real thing? Let me look it up." Good on you. Again, if you want to leave a voicemail or send us an email, you can do so at goodworkpod@gmail.com or call the Good Work voicemail box at 929-256-5151.
Yeah. Or if you want to challenge the Masked Llama to a wrestling match.
This episode of Good Work is brought to you in part by The Chief, a New York City-based newspaper focused on municipal government, civil servants, and the important issues affecting New York State and federal employees. Visit thechiefleader.com, where you can subscribe for as little as $2.75 a month.
Internet! I'm Coy Jandro, a Bostonian who loves pop culture, comic books, and people. And I host Coycast. It's a podcast about all those things. If it fits in on a con floor, we talk about it on Coycast. Myself and producer Jake do previews, reviews, deep dives, and tinfoil hat theories about everything from movies, TV, and the comic books themselves. I also like to dish out comic recommendations from my 100-plus pull list a week so you know what's best to buy. So join us, True Believer, on Coycast.com or wherever you're listening to this podcast right now.
Welcome back, workers. For the second half of the episode today, I want to talk a little bit about school and higher education, and it's all inspired by this article we found here from The Chief. We'll start with the article for some context. This article, SUNY tech grads struggle to find jobs and face lower salaries. Although thousands of students at the City University of New York, that's what I mean when I say SUNY, C-U-N-Y, earn degrees in technology. SUNY graduates are underrepresented in tech jobs. A recent report from the Center for an Urban Future found. Center for an Urban Future, that is CUF. Well, we mentioned that. So the number of SUNY students graduating with degrees in tech more than doubled from 2010 to 2019, from a mere 1,597 to 4,000 SUNY students graduating with degrees in tech. But though the sector is one of the fastest growing industries in New York City, employment levels in the city's tech industry have grown by more than 17% since 2019. SUNY students are struggling to launch tech careers. Just half of SUNY students who earn a degree in computer science were able to get jobs in their field of study within a year of graduating, according to an analysis of data by Label Market Analytics from Lightcast. The technology is a quote, the technology sector needs to recognize that there's a gold mine in these campuses. If employers bring our students into their shops, they see that our students have solved problems in their lives. They're resilient. They've fought for every opportunity they have, said Vince Bourdreau, president of SUNY's City College. But it takes getting in the door. If employees are window shopping for students, they often walk past our window. So this very specific about SUNY schools. Now, obviously, there's a lot to cover as far as like, does higher education guarantee work? Does only elite higher education guarantee work? Because here is, SUNY University, City University of New York, as a small percentage of people represented in this market. Now, it doesn't necessarily say how many graduates of other tech programs get work. Is this just overlooking a school that's not seen as elite and not seen as a top tier school? Or is this just a sign that the degrees are becoming less and less of a guarantee?
Both.
Yeah, you think it's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B?
A little bit of both. Yeah, I mean, maybe, I don't know. Did they look at other schools and see if that was also?
Well, like I said,
that would. Go ahead.
Yeah. There's not other necessarily specific schools here. But
that seems like a very small sample of
but there is
school.
There is something to be stated about the demographics of SUNY, which is mostly people of color, and how the technology sector is where most of the good jobs in New York exist, and few of them have gone to people of color. And so there's also potentially a racial component.
Oh yeah,
this,
that's definitely that's.
I feel like especially in that industry, for sure. I also think just in general with higher education across the board, like it's such a small percentage of people work in their field that they majored in.
Sure.
I think it's like 30-something% or something like that actually work in their field.
Interesting.
So I feel like, it does come back to this overall kind of question about the way that we've organized higher education to get into the labor market. Like, is it even worthwhile anymore?
Right.
With
it's
all
so
of
expensive
the debt,
now,
it's
too.
so fucking expensive.
The price keeps going up, and the return on it keeps going down.
And I mean, like, it's been in the news with Biden's, what was it?
Debt relief.
Yeah, the debt relief program and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like the educational debt and college debt that hangs over so many Americans makes it so that the reality is it doesn't matter how much they're getting paid. They're going to live with that debt for the majority of their lives.
Yeah. I mean, so many, like people are coming out with debt that used to be like medical school type of debt, but they're coming out with that type of debt and not making doctor money. You know what I mean? They're not becoming doctors, or and ending up. Yeah.
I was going to say, let's talk about the money. So there's this website that I discovered when looking for this. I discovered it, I put a flag in it when I found it. BLS.
We live here.
BLS.gov. It's the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. It's a labor statistics site that's very much data driven. BLS.gov is where this comes from, and this is a chart that's the earnings and unemployment rates by educational attainment for 2021. So essentially, it is the median weekly earnings of all of the different, and I'll post this little link to this in the Discord so people can see the actual graph of all the different educational status. So you figure in 2021, the median weekly earnings for less than a high school diploma is $626. High school diploma, $809. Right off of the bat, not a big difference. Maybe don't even bother graduating high school. Some college, $899. So the reality is that's the category that I think all three of us are in. We're all in the some college category.
Wait, are you seeing this, James? Do you see the graph too?
No.
I put a link to the website on.
Okay,
on
I thought
our
we
sheet.
were all looking at it. I was just making sure I couldn't.
Sure,
I was like,
and
I didn't see it.
Got it, and it's called.
It's all good.
Yeah, the actual thing is just called Education Pays 2021 is the name of the chart. Education Pays.
Oh yeah.
I don't think it's a statement. I think it's like how much education pay you. You get it.
Yeah. It's not education pays.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So anyways, yeah. So the difference between some college or high school, some college, and associate's degree is not even $100 really. You know, you go from the 800s to the 900s. Now, a bachelor's degree, there is a significant jump from $960 to $1,334 at median usual weekly earnings. So this would argue that at least getting a bachelor's degree should in some way lead to a higher income, right? What's really interesting, though, is that once you climb this ladder, you go from bachelor's to master's, barely any difference. You have 1334 to 15. Then that's where the actual degrees matter. Your professional degree and your doctoral degree. Arguably the only two degrees that truly guarantee, well, and that is not even true. Guarantee is should be put in quotes, but much greater percentage that you will actually secure work based on your education post getting those two things. And I was curious because I didn't even know the difference between a professional degree and a doctoral. Do you know the difference between those two?
No, I do not.
Doctoral is like a PhD. I'm assuming, and then professional is like a.
Is that a master's?
Specific?
No,
it's
master's is below it.
Yeah, it's below it. But a professional degree is essentially it's more specific than a doctorate. So a doctorate degree is let's see, how do they? Where I found this thing where it sort of specifies the difference. Essentially, that doctorates are like specifically towards a field, and professional is towards a position, and that's the difference. So while a very, very fancy, high class trade school essentially would be a doctor who goes to school to be types of doctor, ophthalmologist, or a surgeon or something, specifically to just getting a degree in, I don't know, medicine, maybe something that's broad. So the irony is that a doctorate is the harder thing to get, pays less, according to this information, than somebody with a professional degree. So
yeah, it's weird. You get a professional, then you move up to doctoral. You go down in earnings.
You go significantly down in earnings, and
not significantly.
But I
like
think it might have to do
$20
with
or something.
Right. Oh, is it really that little? I thought it looked greater than me. 1924. Oh yeah, all right. Yeah, you're not wrong there.
Higher education, you're not ready for it when you're supposed to do it. I think
no
is a
way.
big part of it too. Like
Yeah.
you don't know. Like I find myself wanting to go back to and learn things more now.
Yeah,
and
same.
But like then it's like it doesn't like. And people I know who went to college is like, I didn't want to retain any of it because I wasn't interested in any of it.
Yeah, Alexandra works in college admissions prep. She works in assisting students selecting, applying, helping with essays, teaching them how to apply. And she always says the same thing, like your frontal lobe is not fully formed yet at 18. And the amount of stress and weight that is put on the decisions being made at 18 for the rest of your life are absurd.
It's nuts. That's why, I mean, I think that's to James's point is why it's so low that your major is what your job is.
Right.
The percentages. It's like, yeah, you're
not
either
interested
take it
in
because
that
you think
anymore.
it's easy or you think you're going to make a lot of money, but it's not what you're
Right.
going to end up wanting to do.
And I do feel like with the exception of maybe some of the like film nerds that we are all friends with who like went to film school, who, you know, they all wanted to be a
I
director.
mean, my wife majored in acting.
Right.
so
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like
she's-
there's a level of the performance. That's what I'm trying to get at. Like where it's like they end up in the field, if not the exact role that they specifically wanted to go to. Like I was making the comparison between all the people that I knew that went to college for film and wanted to be directors. Now they're gaffers or they're, you know,
yes,
assistant
it's
camera
adjacent
ops.
to the
Yeah. With the exception of that. And then, the people who were like lawyers or doctors of some sort, work in law and medicine. Most of the people I know that went to college that were my peers, they don't do something related to what they went to school for whatsoever. I think that's
there's
biggest
not a ton
percentage.
of philosophers out there.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
or whatever. Like philosophy is such a
What do you
huge-
do for a living? Oh, I'm a liberal artist.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a poet. Oh, really?
I mean, technically, Alexandra, like she went to school. She's an English literature major, and technically she is a writer professionally because the majority of her work is aiding in college essays and editing and that kind of stuff. So she works, again, it's an adjacent thing. It's like whether or not that helped her even get this position is irrelevant. She actually even talks all the time about how next to her colleagues who mostly went to the Ivy League schools and stuff, she went to George Mason University, she went to like a fine college, but she feels like, all these other people have these incredible credits.
Who's George Mason?
George Mason University in Virginia.
I mean, who's it named after?
What'd you say? Who's it
Who's
named
that
after?
guy?
Oh, I have no idea.
Okay.
I don't know.
Didn't if that was
Maybe
someone
something to do with the
history
Mason. Sounds like maybe Mason-Dixon line might be involved in there somewhere.
He's a famous comedian.
Oh.
Did you say a famous comedian? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
James? Well, here's the thing, though.
Oh, wait,
So-
I'm thinking George Wallace.
God
Yeah.
damn it.
Oh, he's an undefeated boxer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No.
They're
I'm thinking
not
of
undefeated.
Wallace and Gromit.
Yeah.
So
I don't
now
know who
here's
I
the
was
thing.
thinking of. I was trying. I thought in my mind I was like George Mayweather.
There it is. Yeah.
I'm like, that's not his name.
So from this same website, from bls.gov, right after the latest chart about current financial trends based or employment trends based on your higher education, there's an interesting article here about how the fastest growing occupations right now, all that pay well, of course, widely don't require a college degree. So occupations that require a college degree get a lot of attention for offering strong job outlook and wages, but there's a fast-growing, well-paying career that you can enter with generally a high school diploma or other non-degree options. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics has identified a bunch of different careers that generally, pay well, that are they could care less.
Let's get
what
them.
your
Let's get those
education
top
is.
five. Start at number 5.
Well, yeah. Before I say that, I want to go ahead and specify that because they did like a 10-year projection, which is interesting. So between 2020 and 2030, the program BLS projects that 60% of all new jobs in the economy will be in occupations that don't require that don't require an associate's, bachelor's, or graduate degree at all whatsoever. 60% of the entire workforce.
Wow.
It also projected, some of the occupations are projected to grow faster than 7.7% average over the course of the decade, and have a median annual wage higher than $45,000 for all occupations in 2021. There is, of course, construction and installation, which I think is, it's interesting to hear that it's going to be, that they see it as growing, but I can only assume based on all their graphics that it's going to be because of new technology and the lack of dependence on fuel that we're going to have soon. Like it's inevitable. Like the
Right.
amount of work in construction installation of solar technology and of other renewable energies is another thing that like it drives me crazy as an American. Where how are we not like the company? How are we not the country that's leading in this? Like we could have the amount of jobs that are on the table if we would just invest in renewable energies and green technologies. We would not have any labor problems in this country at all whatsoever because everybody could be employed in some way, shape, or form.
How come we don't have a damn bullet train?
The damn bullet train. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Because
it's crazy.
Because the Koch brothers own almost the entirety of the driving experience. Like they own asphalt and tires and seatbelts. And so they lobby
we're
so
such a
hard.
huge, like geographically big country that it would benefit so much if we had those bullet trains just zip it across.
It would be so dope.
Yeah. Be in New York and
I know. You
3
could
hours or something.
You could fly so much less.
I mean,
which would be so fun.
Even just like the infrastructure to fix public transit.
Yeah.
In major cities. Like it's insane to me how well things run in Asian countries for so little money. How reliable and how clean. And how self-sufficient they are.
And their internet, their Wi-Fi is so much better. It's like 1,000 times faster.
Absolutely.
that
So
was number 5.
So you've got, I don't know if there's 5. I think there's less than that because I think they're broad because they have the major categories. Then within them, for example, wind turbine service technician is at the top of the list for construction and installation. Solar photovoltaic installers, security and fire alarm installers, floor layers, carpet, wood and hard, and then tile and stone setters. Like those are all of the.
So these are all under construction category.
Yeah, and they're all incredibly high paying that do not require any sort of higher education. The second category is sort of similar. There's a little bit of overlap, but it's considered maintenance and repair. Stuff like industrial machinery mechanics, commercial drivers.
We've got little kids to do that stuff.
Yeah, well, we talk all about it. Exactly. Mobile heavy equipment mechanics, farm equipment mechanics, millwrights. That's a new one. Millwrights, WRIGHT, people who work in mills. Millwrights. That
was Bart Simpson's friend, right?
Yeah, everything's coming up millwright. And then they have transportation as the next giant category. Airfield operations specialists, aircraft cargo handling, commercial pilots, subway, and what does that say? Streetcar operators. All things that, and I think a lot of it, the theme here is that it's mostly has to do with like renewable energy and green energy. It seems to be that case because all of the, them looking ahead and getting this technology must be with the trends away from gas because these are all, generally they all seem like they're jobs that have to do with energy in some way, shape, or form. And then, of course, the last is their big giant category of other, which includes community health workers, which I'm surprised to see is a community health worker being on a list of things that generally doesn't require a bachelor's degree. But I think it's mostly one of those positions that you get that trains. I mean, that would be my guess at least. But
like a nurse.
I mean, it's more vague. That's my guess.
Is a healthcare worker? Does that mean like clerical stuff or does that mean like hands-on like?
Yeah, high school.
I guess nursing school is its own thing, right? It's like a trade school,
right?
Totally.
Yeah. But there's tons of stuff in here, and I don't know. I think it's kind of fascinating that we as the American dream, so much of it is predicated on higher education, and like you go to school, then you go to college, and you get a good job, and then you live a great life. And I feel like
if you guys were going back, if you guys like you learn one. You could learn one thing.
Right.
If you were going back, you could take one class.
Right.
What would you like? What would be fun? Would you do something like for work, or would you do something purely out of interest?
Exactly. Would it be out of interest, or are you saying like something that would feel like I'd be better financially now if I would?
No, I'm asking you that question.
Oh.
I'm asking which one would it be something just for like, oh, I'm interested in this topic, or I'm like, this is a smart
no, it would be
thing too.
Yeah, it would be the money. I would go more the practical. If I could go back, I'd really concentrate on like coding. I feel like I would try to get into the tech earlier than I did.
Coding
and doing more. Yeah, learning.
Not going, but like going back now. Like, would you do that now?
Oh no, I see what you're saying. I thought you meant if I had a magical time machine
right now. No.
Oh yeah, if I could go back now. Oh, that's a great question. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I would necessarily study that would be different from. It might be just something that would be interesting.
That's what I think.
Yeah,
I don't know what it would be though.
I think for me, like, man, it's a really good question. I think maybe something like, I don't know, like economics and finance or something.
Right.
I feel like
sure.
It's something that makes a lot of money no matter what, especially in this kind of economy.
Here's the question. Are we, in this hypothetical, are we paying to go to the school now? Because none of us can afford it.
Yeah.
No. I mean, if that were the case, then you would just do it now. It's like, no, you don't even pay for that.
Sure.
Like, yeah, it's just free. It's like, hey, you guys get this coupon.
Right.
For one free class.
It might still be some sort of computer science. It might still be some sort of app development or coding thing, because I do feel like that's the kind of thing where I am slightly interested.
Yeah.
I was a web developer once. The industry sort of surpassed me because it moved so quickly and I didn't keep up with common trends. 10 years ago, I was building websites from scratch and I knew everything there was to know, and things changed so rapidly and so quickly that I'm like, I can still build you a website that is like how I built it 10 years ago, but it's not going to be, mobile compatible. It's not going to be all of the things they need to be these days. So it might still be that. It might still be, that, because I probably could still make money, and it's not something I'm completely disinterested in.
Yeah.
I don't know what I think. Mine would be even more practical, like baking.
You gotta go to baking, you gotta
or
go
like
to culinary
outdoor
school?
survival, or like
Culinary
something
school?
like crazy. Like,
it sounds to me like, wait,
I want to
chef
know.
School.
It sounds to me like you just want to be a Boy Scout again. I think you just want to go
Something
back to
like knots and like pine wood derby cars.
Here's a question I have for you.
Sailing.
Equally, that would be a good one. Equally hypothetical, but if you had a high school kid today, would you be pushing them for college? Would you be expressing the importance of college to them?
I don't think so. No. I guess it depends on what they wanted to do. I mean, if they were like, I really want to be a doctor or a lawyer, then I'd probably be like, well then
just get out there and learn it on your own. Just hit the streets and get out there.
Yeah, pick up a book, go hang out in courthouses, try to soak in the info.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyone you see limping, just ask if you can try to fix it for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. What if you had an artistic kid who wanted to be in the arts, who wanted to perform?
I would encourage them to go to an arts.
Same.
I would encourage some sort of. I mean, I would encourage them to try a few different things, but not make any. They're not locked into any one thing.
Right.
Whatever they wanted to do. I think it depends, like James said, like what it is they want to do. If it is a thing that requires that, then it's like we'll figure that out. But if you want to be an actor, then there's 1,000 different ways to.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that we're all college dropouts, were you forced to go to school? Either of you forced to go to school by your parents? Was it like you have to go to college because that's what we do?
I think it was both. I don't think they really forced me, but I felt like I had to.
Same.
Oh, right. Oh, it was self-forced because we were told that that's what you do.
Yeah, because we were told. Yeah,
right,
but they weren't real.
They weren't like strict about it.
Yeah.
And when you said you weren't going back, was it met with resistance?
No.
Yeah. Same.
I just stopped going.
Same.
I mean, I think they were probably a little annoyed because I stopped just short of like one class shy of my associate's degree.
All right. I would
just
also
and I started doing it in comedy and improv, and then
finish line is right there. He's like, I just needed to go to one more class and I would have graduated. But I decided,
what would it have done? What would have done for me?
No, I totally get it. Yeah.
That's why I think like nothing would have changed. I just would have done this thing I didn't want to do.
Yeah, I very much went to school because I felt like I had to. I went to a shitty community college in which I was going to school with the same douchebags I went to high school with. It was just 13th grade because it was 2 towns over from my high school, you know? And by the way, my mother, like, we didn't have to pay for it because financial aid, it was so cheap because it was a community college on Long Island that, you know, I think I made like $400 my first year of college because I got a check for whatever it was. And it was so cheap to buy books and go to school at that time that like I ended up pocketing like $400 or whatever it was on, you know, on the financial aid. And after 2 semesters, also my first year of college, the towers fell. And so my whole school shut down for like 2 months. And that was not a great start.
I hadn't heard about this. What happened?
And so
that's crazy.
But yeah, and when I stopped going, there was no pressure because I think it was because there was no financial pressure. It's not like my mother had spent a ton of money for me to go to school. What about you, James?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I knew that I was kind of like iffy on it to begin with because I really wanted to do comedy and acting.
Right.
And so went to Kent State in Ohio for a year and, you know, like just didn't really vibe with it. Just didn't, you know, just wasn't my thing.
Did you just do liberal arts like I did? Was it just like a generic?
No, I did theater,
okay.
was my major, and journalism was my minor.
Are you
Lies.
a journalist?
Lies.
Oh shit! Yeah.
He didn't graduate. We know.
No, I didn't graduate, and didn't do all that well while I was there.
Right.
I started like I really just dove into stand up, and I was missing class to like drive up to Toronto or Cleveland or like these different places just to go do a fucking open mic.
So, yeah, I was in the same with comedy and music. I was like playing in bands, and it was like, well, we have a gig at Saints and Sinners tonight, so I can miss that class tomorrow morning, whatever.
Totally.
So here's the question: are our opinions just 100% affected by our own experiences? Are we not being critically minded of the importance of school? Because none of us, you know, went and had a good experience and were like, I got a great job because of school.
No, because I'm not against it. I just don't think it's as necessary as what we were told.
Right.
It's like you have to do this and you have to do that. And it's like you clearly don't because so many successful people didn't, and so many people who did are not successful. You know,
Right.
so it doesn't. It's like it doesn't equate to what we were told, but I'm not against it.
Sure,
I'm against how much it costs.
Right. Right.
Because it excludes other people.
Yeah, there are definitely some schools. To answer my own question before, I didn't answer. Like if I had a kid who was going to college, there would be some schools that I would just be like, yeah, no, I just think it's kind of gross. Like I would like, listen, if you want to do it and you can figure out a way to pay for it, that's on you. But some of it is a
like
little
what,
gross.
like Harvard?
Yeah, some of the Ivy Leagues where it's
sure.
like it's really. It seems.
Yeah.
It just seems a little gross. I would
if
sooner.
they got in and got a scholarship.
I mean, like then, like I said, if it's all paid for and it's, I don't, you know, I'm not lining the pockets of any.
I
of
do
the-
whatever they want. You know, whatever they want.
whatever they
as long
want to
as
do,
it's-
sure.
I'm like,
But
I wouldn't mind if they got into Harvard. If I kid, I would be like fine with it.
I mean, that's the one statistic that, you know, maybe we have to revisit talking about higher education because I'm curious about what do the Ivy League graduates, where do they stand in the workforce?
There's so much nepotism and shit.
Because that
with
goes back to like what we were saying about the SUNY.
Yeah, the
that, is it that school or is it
Right.
all schools? And they have a
Right.
special. I mean, those fuckers in the Ivy Leagues too. They're just like, you know, it's like a little club,
Right.
where even if you're a moron, you can come work for me because you went to the same
Right.
school. You know?
I also wonder how
president.
many, the percentage of people who were, you know, lower middle class, who like wanted to do a thing, who went to a trade school or who went to, you know, some sort of higher education, some sort of college to specifically like work this career that they were passionate about. The percentage of those people who actually work that career post-graduation versus the percentage of people who went to an Ivy League college because their parents did and studied something broad and then ended up just going into whatever business their family was into and don't actually use their degree.
That is such a specific poll.
Yeah. But I feel like, well, I guess it's about like.
I'm just trying to figure out that the graph of it, and that last
it's
sentence
about intent. I guess
yeah,
I know, but the question I'm asking is it's about intent, like because I feel like there are people who are like, no, it was hard for me to go to college. Like I had to work 2 jobs and go to college to get this degree to do this thing I like. Versus like, oh yeah, I excelled in school and I got into Harvard and I got a degree and whatever, but now, my friend and I built an app. Like, or like if it has anything to do with what their actual study was. I don't know. Maybe we should get some higher educated folks on the program and get their opinions on this.
I don't want those snooty people.
Yeah. All right. Well, then fuck that noise. Maybe. Anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in to yet another episode of Good Work. We hope you enjoy these programs, this conversation. If you do, we do hope you'll consider checking out goodworkpod.com. Goodworkpod.com. That is your one-stop shop for all things Good Work. There you can find official merchandise. Hey, it's the holiday season. If you listen to the show and you tell your loved one, hey, I want a Good Work mug. Throw that Good Work mug in my stocking stuffer. Send a link to the shop to your friends and family who buy you crap for the holidays. You can find that there at goodworkpod.com, as well as links to our personal social media accounts. Of course, I mean on Hive and on our Discord community. So you can join the conversation.
And our YouTubes.
And the YouTube.
Email us at goodworkpod@gmail.com or call the Good Work voicemail box at 929-256-5151 and be like the masked llama.
And please subscribe, rate, and review the show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and consider becoming a patron on patreon.com/goodworkpod.
And of course, just because it is the holidays, I always like to throw this out there this time of year. If you're enjoying the program, please consider supporting our podcast network, completely independent podcast network, Dragon Wagon Radio. There are a lot of different ways that you can support this DIY independent network of podcasts to keep these shows completely free to all listeners. You can check out all those ways at dragonwagonradio.com/support. Thanks you guys so much for listening. Hope you're enjoying this holiday season. Also, I know we've got we've got into the year coming up. We're going to do the best we can with scheduling to ensure we have a little something every single week. But listeners, all of you out there dying to hear more Good Work every week. Just be patient over the next couple of weeks as we make sure
lower your expectations
for the next 3 weeks. And again, happy holidays and good work.
Good work, everybody.
Good work.
Dragon Wagon.